Hello, crafters and artisans, and welcome back to Psychedelic Squid Fiber Arts. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a Turkish spindle. To start, we need a template. I want my spindle to be 4.5 inches across, so I'm going to measure out a 4.5 inch rectangle for my guidelines. Then, I'm going to mark the midpoint at 2.25 inch and draw a line down the center. Then, using my compass at the largest diameter, I'm going to draw the bottom arc to the thicker piece of the spindle. Then I want the thinner spindle piece to be 3/16 inch thick, so I'm going to make another line identical to it 3/16 inch below it. For the thicker cross piece of the spindle, I'm going to use a smaller diameter on my compass to make it thicker so I can make a slot in it for the other piece to slide through. The wood I plan on using is almost 3/4 inch thick, and I'm going to make my slot 1/4 inch tall and 3/4 inch wide and center it. Now I just need to cut out my template. If you don't feel like making your own template, I'm going to post the one that I used on my Facebook page. Here is the beautiful piece of black walnut I'm going to use for my spindle. I'm just going to glue my template down using a glue stick. Now that I've done that, I'm going to cut it out using my scroll saw. Now, here are those pieces cut out. They're still quite rough, so I'm going to sand them down and even out my cuts. Next, for the slot, I'm going to start by drilling the corners out using a 1/16 inch drill bit, since circular cuts in the wood are less likely to break than sharp angles. So here you can see my 4 holes. They're a little off where I wanted them to be, but I'm going to cut and sand the slot more to make up for it. Now I'm going to check that this cross piece fits through the slot smoothly. You can see here mine drags just a little bit, so I'm going to sand that high spot to make sure it goes together smoothly. Now to drill the holes for the spindle, you want to make sure that these are centered across the width and length of the pieces. The trick is to make sure that the top hole on the thicker cross piece is the smallest hole, and the bottom hole on the thicker cross piece is the largest, while the section that goes through the slot has a size in between the other two. So I'm going to drill out the holes using a 1/4 inch wood drill bit, and I'm going to sand the other holes larger. Here you can see I drilled my holes, and I'm just making sure they line up. My spindle is going to be made out of this 1/2 inch red oak dowel, and I'm going to turn down on my lathe. But if you want, you can use a 1/4 inch dowel and use a wood bead as a retaining piece. Here is my spindle sanded to 800 grit. I also sanded the cross pieces of walnut to 800 grit and took down the sharp edges. Now I'm just going to make sure everything goes together smoothly and functions. I'm happy with this, so I'm just going to oil this up. I use Howard's feed and wax to oil my spindle, and it looks amazing. I love how it brought out the richness of the walnut. Here you can see how smoothly my spindle spins. And there you go, a gorgeous Turkish spindle. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments section below, and feel free to visit my Facebook page or Instagram to ask clarifying questions or about things I haven't covered yet. Thank you all so much for exploring the depths of your creativity with me, and I'll see you next time.